So welcome everybody to our November 2nd edition of the Unity Correspondence course study group or conversation group or dialogue group, whatever we are. It's good to see everybody. Um, exactly. So as always, let's just settle in. Let's experience the one presence, the one power, the one love that actually always only is, the only reality, God the good, omnipotent. Where two or more are gathered together in that name, the presence is there with us. We can feel it. And in that spirit, I'm going to put the daily word up and ask Lillian if she'd be willing to
Very much.
re read it for us.
So today's word, remembrance. I cherish the memories of my loved ones. Cute little guys there. I cherish the memories of my loved ones. Today I remember life is eternal as I honor my dear ones who have passed. I send love and light to those who have enriched my life. My heart beams with love and gratitude as I cherish the memories I hold so dearly. I honor and reflect on the relationships that have meant so much to me. I open my heart, allowing myself to feel the tenderness of my emotions. I sense my relatives' love, a reminder their presence is alive in my heart. I visit my memories in the stillness, grateful for the time we spent together. My beloved's love, wisdom, and strength are in me. As I remember these special ones, their memory will be a blessing that transcends time and space. And from Luke 22, then he took a loaf of bread, and when he had given thanks, he broke it and gave it to them, saying, "This is my body, which is given for you. Do this in remembrance of me."
Thank you, Lillian. I cherish the memory of my loved ones. Let's say that together. I
I
cherish
cherish
the
the
memory
memory
Cherish the
of our
of
loved
my
memories
loved
ones.
of my
ones.
loved ones.
So let's take a moment and if you want to close your eyes, let's visit let's visit our loved ones that we have released into the next phase of life, life eternal. Let's bring them to mind and cherish them for the next minute or so. Great. Thanks, everybody. So last week we continued to dive into our sixth lesson, the lesson on great demonstration, and we got up through paragraph 13 and had a nice conversation about those the carnality, getting rid of carnality, and so forth. So before we pick up on paragraph 14, any reflections anybody would like to share from last week's conversation? Okay. who would like to read paragraph 14 for us?
I will.
Okay, thank you.
Mankind in general looks upon sin as a transgression of the moral law only. That is, nonconformance to the law as set forth in the Ten Commandments. These laws have to do with the conduct of man. Sin originates in the human consciousness or soul, the realm of thinking and feeling. God is perfection. Man, God's image likeness, his offspring, is also perfect in the spiritual phase of his nature and always one with his indwelling Father. Sin is primarily man's belief that he is separate from God, that he is limited and unlike his divine parent. Sin is ignoring the divine law of life. It is a failure to recognize one's own innate divinity and failure to apply, i.e., demonstrate spiritual principles, i.e., divine ideas, in his own life and affairs. Such negative thinking and feeling result in an adverse state of consciousness that is called the devil or the adversary. Whether sin is committed willfully or in ignorance, the effect of this transgression is the same. So let me say that again. Whether sin is committed willfully or in ignorance, the effect of the transgression is the same.
Thanks, Claudia. Thoughts, reflections, questions, observations?
Does this get into when it talks about sin? Is it, they say we're born into sin. That would mean then that the infant hasn't yet figured out all these things, so he has not yet made these connections. Is that what they're getting at here?
What do you think?
I ask you.
Good response to the Socratic approach.
Lovely.
Anybody want to take that on?
That's good. Oh, lovely.
What does the group think? What do you guys think?
Well, I think that the baby is not born in sin to begin with.
Right.
They're a newborn, fresh palate of life, and they're incapable of sin at birth, surely.
Okay.
I think as we become older from the baby, we become aware of our separation. Just like they say that in the course of human infant development, up until about the time of 2 years old, the child has no recognition that they're separate from the mother or the father. They see themselves as one, as whole. But then about 2 years old, they become to identify as a self entity. And that's where you get the phrase the terrible twos, because they begin to strike out and look at their own individuality, or I'll say this, personality. So I wonder if there's not a parallel here as to us and God, where when we first arrive, we have a sense of oneness and wonder. And then as we grow older, our personality, as Emily Cady would say, develops, and it becomes how I appear to you today as Claudia, versus my sense of individuality, which is my individualized part of God here, hanging out.
Your eachness of the allness.
My eachness of the allness. And so, to me, what that said is, whether you begin to recognize or whether you begin to think that you're separate from God, or whether you just act like you're separate from God. Either one of those transgressions is a sin, in the sense that you are not recognizing your true relationship in this world.
Thank you. Well said. Yeah, Janet.
I'm wondering, I don't know whether the Catholics coined this phrase or I read it somewhere, that age 7 is the age of reason. And that idea that someone decided that 7 years old was about the time you were starting to think and know right from wrong, good from bad, all those things we try to not label anymore. So I don't know, is that a Catholic thing or is that something much more philosophical from somebody smart?
What do you think?
Here's
Well,
your
I agree with
opportunity,
it. I don't
Janet.
agree with much the Catholics say. So I, I I don't know. I don't know where it came from. It wasn't me, but I was taught it a long time ago.
From a historic perspective, that insight came long before the church was called Catholic because it came back when there was just the church. So even before the Protestant Reformation. So it's pretty ancient wisdom.
However, Dr. Google says, Dr. Google agrees with Marty that yes, around age is commonly considered the age of reason, a developmental and legal concept referring to when a child can begin to think more logically, understand right from wrong, and is held more accountable for their actions. And then it goes on, blah, 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 to say Catholic tradition. There's legal accountability in a legal sense. 7 is a common benchmark for which when a child is presumed capable of understanding their actions through this can be by jurisdiction. Catholic tradition. The Catholic Church historically uses age 7 as a reference point, recognizing it is this age when a child is capable of understanding the basics of faith and is held accountable for their actions. Let me ask you, Catholics, is that about the age of First Communion?
Yes,
Yep.
exactly. And confession, those little ones had to go in and come up with all the things they had done wrong before they could get the first communion. And I always thought it was so crazy. But my mother was alive and I did it with both my children. And they still criticize me. Whatever.
So I wanted to thank you for that, Claudia. I wanted to also reflect that the summary that you gave about this question of the child consciousness, separation, unity, and so forth. As you were speaking it the way you did, I couldn't help but reflect that you were giving a metaphysical interpretation of the Garden of Eden story.
Ah, interesting.
So
About the 2-year-old up until the time of 2 they felt one with.
exactly.
I've never heard that definition of the age of understanding, but it makes me stop and think about what you all know about me is that when I was 7 years old, my mother took me down to the Unity Center in Dallas, Texas, and from then I went from there. So I guess that's when I finally found out what was right and wrong and got involved with Unity.
Makes a difference. So the assumption here is, and the ancient wisdom certainly asserted this, that by the time the average kid gets to be 7, he or she is capable of discernment of what's right or wrong, at least in his or her local environment. And so I was raised in that Catholic moral scheme. I just don't know what it would have been like if I'd been raised in the unity moral scheme. But either way, we were presented with um, a particular understanding of right and wrong in a larger context at that age. And it's funny because Janet made a wry comment, or I heard it as a wry comment about confession. And yes, what sins does a 7-year-old really have to confess? On the one hand, but on the other hand, the tradition, the power and the value of learning to come clean with God, regardless of the issue, has power.
Yeah, Marty, it had power, but it only had power if you went to the priest and sat in the box and let the priest tell you your sins were absolved. There was nobody talking like um, Velda and her husband talking about the the idea that you're, a pure little being doing the best you can. God's not hanging over you. It was, oh my God, it's Saturday. I've got to get to the church. I'm just tell you all, I became so crazy as an adult due to my Catholic upbringing. I'm convinced of it. So it's taken me a long time to climb out of what we were taught. I mean, it was nobody was talking to God. They were talking to Father O'Connor, who was asking you if you would put any money in the poor box. So just I don't know. I never think of you as sharing that background, Marty, at all, ever. I never hear you say anything crazy that I think, oh my God, Marty must have been a Catholic. Um, it's you're shaking it off in your
Yeah,
years in unity.
well, not only was I raised Catholic, but I did have 14 years of Catholic education. And
Well,
I remember Dorothy Pearson, our beloved minister, who is now passed on, saying to me, once a Catholic, always a Catholic, Marty.
oh,
Well, again, it goes back to what Veldon said. When, at that age, we start to believe. We have beliefs, and we tend not to have a critical, analytical mind. Janet, you're probably the exception. The critical, analytical mind that goes, well, this is bullshit. We tend to go, oh, really? Is this okay? All right.
Certainly at 7. Yeah.
Yeah.
certainly at 7.
So,
That's why I love these readings that are for today. I laughed all by myself like crazy person, but reading it about the perception of the devil, and I just thought, oh my God, Janet, you've been so misinformed. So, you guys are a great lifesaver to me in my old age.
all right. Thank you. Any other comment on this paragraph? I just wanted to point out that Emily Cady in the first chapter in Lessons in Truth, and I like to quote this a lot. She says that we come to this world believing in the flesh and the things of the flesh, and I do believe it is going to Veldon's question that kicked off this conversation. It really is the developmental reality that a human child does not have intellect until at least age 4, and certainly cannot use that intellect to reason until age 7. So we can't help but absorb the world into which we're born and the beliefs of the world into which we are born, the environment. It's like because we have no alternative being presented to us, just that of our family, both intellectually, morally, and emotionally. And so if we have parents who believe in the world is separate from God, then we're just going to absorb that reality uncritically. We have no choice. We just can't. We don't have the faculty to go, well, is that really true, Dad? And many people go through life without ever having an occasion to question those core beliefs that were developed at that age. Someone was talking to somebody yesterday who was quoting a Jesuit saying that give me a kid until age 7 and I will give you a Jesuit formed Christian.
Oh God.
I believe that.
But the point is, it's not about the Jesuits. It's about that formation, the formative dynamics of the first 7 years. No matter who it is that you have for the first 7 years, that's where our foundational core beliefs emerge.
Well, it's also our society that separates God
Yeah,
from
exactly.
us. I mean, so, and honestly, I separated God from me.
Yeah.
My God was an external God. So even in unity, my God was an external God. I mean, because um, unity had the flexibility of allowing for an external God who worked through you. Unless I had read these lessons very early on and studied them the way we're studying them, I don't think I I would have radically changed my perspective of the external God.
Yep.
So that's been I've been in this for since 1981, how many years that is, but um, and I still find myself default.
44.
Oh, thank God. It's more than that because my kids are like older than that. But I still find myself at times, if I'm not careful, defaulting to an external God. So,
Yeah.
Claudia, you nailed it last week when we talked about this. And just like you, I don't stop to think about, well, God is always an external God. And I've often, when I stop to think about it and I try to describe what I believe, then I will describe it as, all the universe is part of a pie and we're part of that pie. But when you said last week you considered the ocean and we were like a drop in the ocean. And that in itself is almost a better description of when we really stop to think about what God is and so forth. We're all a part of that, and it's all part of the ocean. I thought you explained that very well last Sunday.
well, thank you. And that I think is Eric Butterworth, but I'm channeling Eric to yes, last week for today. Is
Good.
he said, God is in you like the ocean is in a wave, not like a raisin is in a bagel. I thought, you know,
Well, okay.
so
Well, I got a good sentence in the annotations that I really like that for this part that says, the will, plan, or intention of God is that man should maintain a perpetual conscious connection between himself and Jehovah God, allowing the life current to move through him in an uninterrupted flow. And I've told you before about, despite my fresh remarks about the Catholics in my childhood, I did have the age 4 to age 5 in the hospital having the direct connection to that spiritual realm and that invisible realm. So as I marched on through life in Catholic school, 12 years, I always knew they were kind of full of crap. I mean, I knew there was way more to it than what I was being taught. Um, but it's I guess what you'd say, it fades the memory, the real visceral memory of how something felt. It just sort of shrinks and kind of disappears. And so now I'm back. It's not disappeared anymore, it's back.
I read an interesting book with my book group this month called The Untethered Soul by Michael Singer. And it's a spiritual book, and I'm not recommending it because it was written in 2007. So many of us are like, yeah, what else? What else? But he had a, he had a point about death. And he said that we should look at death as a way to remember how remarkable our life is and how amazing our life is in this moment. So don't fear death because it's a natural extension of life, but instead say, wow, look at this life that I'm living. Or, wow, that's interesting. That person did that asinine thing. I wonder what was behind that. And just look at the marvel of your life. Um, and not and embrace it from the perspective of someday it's going to end. And so enjoy it now. And it's hard in our culture to look at death. You were talking about Deus de Muertos, and it's hard to look at death, and especially our own death. And in terms of the daily word today, death. But I was thinking about death this morning, and it was like, you know, my life right now is like wearing the most fabulous, well-fit outfit I've ever owned. It's comfortable, it looks great on me, it feels good, and I feel marvelous in it. But someday I'm gonna outgrow this outfit. It isn't gonna fit right, or it's not gonna look right, or it's gonna wear out, or something, and I'm gonna take it off. But I am the me, the soul, that chooses to take it off. The outfit is only that is just today's consciousness, today's personality, if you will. And I, who decided to put that outfit on, will take it off and put on something else or be something else. But I'll never, the soul will never be extinguished. It just changes outfits. So it was an interesting perspective this morning as I kind of embraced my life and thought, wow, I get to be with Marty and my friends today. And, this is a gorgeous day because it's not always going to be this way. So I'm going to enjoy every ounce of it, squeeze every bit of juice out of that orange today.
Great.
Thank you, Claudia.
Thanks for that, Claudia. Anybody else?
How can we top that?
By
Well,
reading the next paragraph, I'm sure.
yeah, because everyone's look, I come to this meeting because I believe every one of us has the wisdom of our own life experience, just like Claudia was saying. And every one of us, look around the room, every one of us has that raiment, the clothing of the life that you are enjoying right now, which comes from all of the work that you've done, the suffering, the doubts, the triumphs, the breakthroughs, the sharing, the community. And I just selfishly want to get as much of that from all you guys as I can.
Right.
Just add on top of Claudia's great expression is, I think that is what is meant in Second Revelations, and I'm going to put it, sorry, Revelations 2:11, I believe. Yeah. When it says what the overcoming is for the second church is that we shall not be hurt of the second death. And what that speaks to me is that there will be that the me that will not be hurt is the soul will not be hurt in that. When I let go of this physical form, that my soul will not be hurt in that, and it will be able to move on to whatever is its next space and iteration. And I see people who don't have that perspective of the letting go, and their soul is hurt in the second death. When we let go of the body, and so I love what you said, and I think I'm just trying to express. I think there's scriptural resonance with that. In the Tuesday group, we've been talking over, I think, several months now around what is death, what is the meaning of death, what is the variations of death, and that gave me a lot of peace to read that. So, and to hear what you say and connect those pieces. So, thank you.
Thanks, Gretchen. Anything else, or we're ready to move on to the devil? All right. Who will read? Let's see. Let's read 14 and I'd say 15 and 16 together. Who would read for us?
I would like to.
Okay, Leo, thank you.
And welcome back. We missed you last week.
Yeah, I was still driving at that time. I couldn't get my laptop active, and okay, I'm here now.
Okay, go for it.
Good.
An hour later.
And an hour later, thank you for telling me that, because I would anyway. I switched on an hour before, just to make sure I had calculated the right hour. But what is the meaning of the devil, sometimes called adversary and accuser? And I would like to add seducer, but okay. In
Okay.
the American Standard Version of the New Testament, the devil is referred to as the adversary. This adversary is an adverse state of consciousness which has developed in man. Because of man's dual consciousness, belief in two powers, there is warfare in the individual soul. Spiritually, man is the descent of the Holy Spirit, and humanly, his aspirations for good draw him upward toward his source, God. No one had ascended into heaven, but he that descended out of heaven, even the Son of Man, who is in heaven. John chapter 3, verse 13. The Hebrew word that is translated Adam means red earth. The unenlightened Adam man is ascending, yeah, from red earth, from a lower or undeveloped consciousness. It is from this undeveloped consciousness that his low desires and impulses come. Not knowing that this conflict is within his own consciousness, man has felt as if he were in the hands of two powers, and has imagined one as a good being, God, and the other as an evil one, the devil. He has made the devil his alibi for selfishness and for the weakness in his will, when he has been led astray by low desires. Paul's description exactly fits when he calls man's low desires the mind of the flesh. Romans chapter 8, verse 7. The concept of a personal God must give way to the knowledge of a universal God, individuated in every man. Belief in the devil must go before the understanding that the devil is only the personalization that man has given to his wrong thoughts, feelings and beliefs. The devil is the mental image that man has made of his own concept of evil.
Wow. Thanks, Leo.
Can I add something to that?
Of course.
About a year ago, I had an encounter with something that I call the visitor, and I had a marijuana session with that visitor because he said he was a renowned connoisseur, if you like to say that. The funny thing is, people addressed him as Josh, but his real name is Goeje, and that is Old Dutch for, hold on, little God. And somewhere during that session, I got some really evil kind of experience. It was like I was held prison and I was interrogated by the secret police. So, but now I can say it was my own devilish part. Let me put it that way. What happened was that I was using See Me Beautiful, the song that Mark is advertising, and I used that, and this session took 2 or 3 hours, I don't know, and some very terrifying things happened to me. So I started repeating See Me Beautiful, and somehow that presence there changed into the green man, and the green man is what the Egyptians call Osiris, the man of the underworld. but it was not a nice sight. So I kept on going with I used the see me beautiful as a mantra, and then the greenish went away, and that man just represented there was like a man. Not good, not bad, totally neutral, but very, I don't know how to say, impressive. So, while reading this, number 15, I think, yeah, that is what happened to me. I was looking at my own bad side, and I could move it into a neutral area. And by doing that, the whole scenery that was set up there changed into total neutrality. Amazing experience. And I kept it private until today. This is a first. Thank you.
Thank you, Leo.
Leo.
Thank you.
But I could easily have said, it's not me, you know? What I see is not me. Because it was very confusing and very, how I say that, coming into some personality of me that I didn't want to agree with. I had to do something with that.
So you feel that that was your subconscious mind or ego coming through in a, I'm not going to even characterize it as negative, but just more as a dark persona that
Well,
emerged.
what I found was I felt being held prison.
Uh-huh.
I was looked like I was constrained. Looked like I couldn't move. I couldn't exercise my own will. I was really looked like in an interrogation cell. So it was in a way very disturbing, to say the least.
That's a good way to describe it, as to be held prisoner. And I think, we as humans can be held prisoner to our darker thoughts or our thoughts of separation. And that's, how that manifests is individual, but interesting. And that is evil. And that is the devil, or the devil spelled backward is as evil, as people like to say. So, yeah.
Yeah, well, I must say that I've been for several years. I am doing the practice that is promoted by the Egyptians, and that is I'm using my dream life to visit the underworld to look at my hidden parts. So this particular event, I think, was a following up on what I was doing during my dream time.
So I highlighted this section here. It seems to your experience seems to illustrate this
Yeah.
section. Not knowing that this conflict is within our consciousness, we feel as if we are in the hands of two powers, and imagine
Yes.
one is a good being, God, and the other is an evil one, the devil.
Absolutely, Martin. That was really how it felt. But I felt really to be prisoned by the evil one.
Yeah.
And I could only break away by using the See Me Beautiful song.
Yes. In my experience, I have characterized this conflict, I call it the inner civil war. And the coming to Appomattox, the ending of the Civil War, comes when I let God totally take charge and stop fighting my devil and accepting my devil as part of me. It's interesting you use the word underworld, and the underworld is part of the world. And part of where we get in trouble is this: we're trained to push away those things that are within us,
Yeah, disavow.
just as we are trained sometimes to push God away. But
Exactly.
But if God is everywhere present, God's in the underworld, and God's in the devil and the demons and the evil one, as it says here. Other thoughts, comments, similar experiences, different experiences?
What comes to mind is that so often when we have conflicts and so forth, and we just say uh, everything is in divine order, just let go and let God, and that in itself sort of puts us, it just dismisses it and doesn't give it any more power. If we just look at it and say everything is in divine order and just accept that, and then put it out of our mind and leave with the idea that it's in divine order.
Okay, thank you.
I like what Belden said on that. And I'm thinking about the 12 Powers of Man book, uh, that James is the representation of order in us, and in thinking about the transfiguration, it is Peter and James and John that are with Jesus up on the mount for the transfiguration. So faith and order and love are with us when we both see the truth of the glorification, as well as, but the only one that's left at the crucifixion is John. The only love is left with us when we are at that moment, um, and that we can rely upon that fundamentally God is love.
Wow, cool. Thank you.
Thank you.
I would like to add on that, Gratian. That is, I mean, in that same is mentioned, I believe, that people see Moses and Elijah. Yeah.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
yeah,
That and that they see Moses and Elijah, and yet then they disappear, and then it is only Christ. And it's faith that says here, that says, am I supposed to build 3 temples?
well, I think
Jesus gently is like, hang
I
tight,
think
God's got an answer for you. And God's answer is, this is my beloved son. Hear him, see him, recognize him.
well, I think there is another aspect on that, and that is that Moses represents the law, cause and
Yeah,
effect,
yeah,
and Elijah is representing prophecy that is looking ahead. So every time I come upon something, I remember what is in my past, Moses, and I project what I fear to the future as Elijah. But if both of them disappear, then the only thing that is left is Christ, and that is being in the now.
it
Now, we
is
now.
so beautifully said, Leo, and very beautiful. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. You raised it. You raised the issue.
So thanks for this. I want to also ask what you guys think about this admonition. The concept of a personal God must give way to the knowledge of a universal God individuated in each of us. What do you take away from that?
Well, I had a very interesting meeting with 2 Dutch people. One is a former physician, and the other one is an Advaita, how you say that, helper. And what struck me was between the both of them, they gave me the idea. I am the space, and in the space, that is me. Things happen. So if I make my space to encompass the whole humanity, then I can accept everyone as being part of me.
Okay.
Just an idea.
Yeah, yeah. Anybody else?
My sense is that this is a bit where Jesus is saying, I must leave so that the Comforter can come, that the Paraclete can be manifested in you, is what I hear him saying in that. And so it's moving beyond the personal to the universal and much deeper in the mystery.
Okay.
It reminds me of a class I took for skiing in the Pyrenees between France and Spain. I had a class, and we were, I think, 6 people, and the teacher just said, "Follow me," and nothing more. And it was outside of season, so all the slopes were icy. But these guys were connected with walkie-talkies, and during the time and the effect of the sun, some slopes could be used. So we had to traverse through all kinds of areas, and it went fine. So I was so happy about that. So next day in the morning, I took my own. You say I skied on my own. Oh my God! No more teacher there. And I dropped and I dropped and I dropped and I dropped. I see, my God, I said, oh my God, look at that. Let's let me go back in the class and learn some more from this teacher.
You reminded me of the story of Jesus and Peter walking on the water, or not.
Yeah, yeah, in the presence of the master, it's easy, but then when the master
Right.
goes, you have to do it yourself.
Yeah. Okay, if there's nothing else on this, let's move ahead. We still have a little bit of time here. Who will take on number 17?
I'll take it.
Thank you.
When Jesus took on himself the likeness of sinful flesh, Romans 8:3, he placed himself where he had to meet, he had to meet and overcome all that man has to meet, including the adverse state of mind called the devil. He found that the adversary tried to overthrow him by quoting scripture. We need to be on guard and to be so rooted and grounded in the knowledge of truth that we shall at once detect any illegitimate use of Scripture that would aim to keep us bound in the limitations of the manifest or physical man.
Hmm.
Would you also do 18, Veldon,
Sure.
please? Thank you.
Since God is the one presence and the one power in the universe, the seeming power of the adversary must come from man, to whom God has given all authority, dominion, and freedom of will, for he is to represent God in the manifest world. By using this freedom and power for his own selfish interests instead of recognizing the unity of all creation, man has built within himself a state of consciousness adverse to the universal good. The strength of the adverse thought lies in the power attributed to it by the people who have accepted it. By such acceptance, they have given to this adverse belief the substance and intelligence of their thought. Thus, it seems to be separate force no longer under the control of man. It is an enemy, subtle, lying, deceiving. It is a liar and the father thereof. And that's from John 8:34 44.
Okay, thank you. What any thoughts or reflections
I
from
like how Fillmore or whoever wrote this part doesn't condemn people for having a philosophical or religious bent that believes in the adversary or the devil or hell. They just point out that it is one's own creation. You know, that's what that's what you choose to think, or that's what you choose to believe, or that's the dogma that you choose to follow. And just kind of points out that there is another way. You know, you are doing this to yourself. You know, I like that.
it reminds me of the statement as we cannot not manifest. It's like we're going to manifest, and what is it that we're going to manifest becomes a matter of how does he put it here about um, our authority, dominion, and freedom of will.
He doesn't condemn the dogma
Right.
of maybe, you know, I think we have to be careful about that of, you know, whatever our, you know, whether it's the Catholics or the Mormons or the whatever, or the fundamentalists or the pick a religion, any religion, and just recognize that, um, you know, you have the power within you to break away from that consciousness. And I think that's what I see in you, Janet, and you, Marty. You broke away from the that which you were taught and said, I don't think so. I think there's something else going on here. But we can't fault the people who do believe that.
No, and it goes back to the paragraph we read above about seeming to have those two opposing forces or thought or psychodynamics. It's like it's just the way it is. This is the way God created it. And if so, therefore, it is not to be condemned because, of course, as it says here, God's there's God's the only presence and power going on. So God is in those seeming opposites, which is
I
which is why that's the solution, the golden key. Leo, go ahead.
Well, I was thinking about that space thing that Dutch woman told me about. Is that if you put enough space around you that you can have two opposite ideas be present at the same time, then you how to say that you allow the adversary enough space to function but not to take over.
Is that like
Absolutely.
is that like being in the world but not of it?
Exactly, because you need to accept that we are in the duality world, and in the
Right.
duality there are opposites. But we need to say we are in the middle of it, and we keep the handle on things.
There was a great dialogue written in I think it was the 15th century by a mystic named Nicholas of Cusa, and it was called The Coincidence of Opposites. And he said, God is the coincidence or the resolution of opposites. So the manifest world, you're absolutely right. The manifest world has to exist on contrasts, distinction, opposites, but God is where all those things come together and resolve into a unity.
And and the funny thing about I got this email from Mark today, and I think I applied to him. Well, the word unity sort of implies schism, diversity. I know it's well, it's so I say that on the minds of people in true unity now. we have to accept that there is schisms. People diverse, people inverse, and people diverse. And I believe that there are some of us that are inclusive, and while other people are exclusive. And it happens.
It happens. At least at this stage of our revolution. We have just another couple minutes. Any other thoughts that haven't been expressed yet before we wrap up?
I
I
think
can
we
tell
should
you,
go
Marty,
to
I put a,
19.
oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just
Go.
thinking, I think we should go to 19 so we can hear about the overcoming all of this. But I will defer to Janet.
Well, we're going to leave that as a cliffhanger, Gretchen.
Oh, I knew you were going to do that. Beautiful.
Nothing prevents you from reading ahead. So go ahead, Janet.
A lot of this reminded me of the subconscious and what teachers I've had that were doing spirituality with Jungian stuff. And that subconscious always comes up as the repository of all sorts of darkness that is unavailable to our consciousness until we get further along the path. And so some of this language and what we read today reminds me of that.
There's a real analogy, isn't there, between the subconscious and the underworld.
Yeah. And meditation is what empties it without doing anything. If you do enough meditation time over a period of time, it just dissolves it. And I mean, I'm a much nicer person now than I ever was, and it isn't because of anything I particularly do. It's just because I believe that I'm being healed of those darkness over time in God's timing, and it works. But it isn't a devil in a suit sitting on the bottom of my bed telling me it's all in here.
Yeah. Anybody else? Thank you, Janet. Anybody else?
And if you want to know what somebody's thinking, just look at what they're manifesting.
I just want to pop in and say thank you. I love eavesdropping.
Nobody does it better, Esther. Glad you're here.
Thank you for being here.
All right, well, let's close out as we always do with our prayer for protection, and we will reconvene next week and resolve the cliffhanging.
Okay.
All right, so we'll do the prayer for protection together. The light
of God surrounds us.
The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. Thank you, Marty. Thank you, everybody.
Marty. Thanks,
You're
everyone.
welcome. God bless.